Thanks for checking out one of our videos here on YouTube. This is going to be a little kind of a test and overview review, we're going to call it, on this particular unit. It's a Cyclops Champ. This is their it's a 110 volt version. They do make a 12 volt variety of the same thing, the same model, just a different board setup on the inside. But here's our information about us. We are a independent shop that works on fence starters, so we see all of them come through here. Good ones, bad ones, cheap ones, expensive ones. You know, you name it, we see it. So if you want an honest opinion of what's good and what's bad about a model or a brand or whatever, you know, we'll give you the honest truth. Overall, the Cyclops models are fairly well made. They use very heavy duty transformers. They use standard capacitors that a lot of brands use. They're a pulse grade type. They are same capacitor that Speedrite, Gallagher, and certain models Power Wizard use or Dare use. So they share that same type of brand of capacitor. They don't make the capacitor in house. That's made by somebody overseas and stuff. So, but this unit is a 6.3 joule stored, 5 joule output. So it's basically its engine horsepower to rear wheel horsepower is pretty good. There's not a lot of parasitic loss because they use really good transformers that have a pretty good ratio of input and output. Not a lot of parasitic loss. Every brand's got some losses. Some are more efficient at the discharge than others, and this one's pretty efficient at the discharge of between stored joules and their output. They use really good terminal bolts on there. They don't use a pot metal mix that some brands use, like some Gallaghers and Speedrites. They use some kind of pot metal mix on certain models, not all of them. They're pretty good bolts overall, but these ones are made out of actual, like, I don't know, zinc, stainless steel, whatever they're made out of. They got a little hole there in the side or the bottom between when the bolt's setting out, but a little hole right there you can run your wire through. They've got 2 fuses on them, one on the left and one on the right. One on the left, people say, "Oh, my ground fuse blew." Well, it's not really ground fuse. It's on the same side of the case as the ground terminal, but it doesn't go to your ground. It goes to the AC cord comes in here, ties into the fuse, goes to the lower surge protector board, and then that goes over to the main power board. And the fence side, on this side has this fuse over here, that goes to an output board as well as to your fence terminal. That is used for, there's an output protection board that runs inside there as well, that is supposed to help absorb and be like kind of a sacrificial part to try to help with the lightning damage, as well as like that surge protector board is on the AC side. It can get hit, but it's kind of a sacrificial part to try to save the rest of it. It does do its job where it absorbs a lot of the impact, but I've seen these units, some models there that just get really burned up pretty bad from a pretty direct hit. So they do have good lightning protection built into them, but it's not it's not going to solve every lightning surge problem that comes through, because everything's a little different. So the things you got to be a little concerned about this brand, on all their models, this goes for 12 volt and they're 110 volt. They're not a sealed unit. They're just an overlapping front and back case. It's got about this much overlap on it. There's no seals or gaskets, so you got to protect them if they're outside, especially the 12 volts. You can't just hang them up on a wall or hang them up underneath the eave of a building. You know, wind blows, the rain, and water's going to get in there and mess something up. So you got to protect them from the elements. Also, their plastics, when they're new, are really nice, but once they get a little age on them, especially if they're outside and the sun can really get to them and bake that case, they don't have a lot of like UV protection stuff built into their plastic. So over time, they'll go from this nice deep red to kind of a faded pink. And sometimes you'll even start seeing little cracks in the case in different spots. I've seen them crack real bad in the corners sometimes. These things in the back will sometimes break off too. Then you have it hanging some other way, hang out from the wall some other way. So you got to keep it protected from both the sun and the elements for rain. It has a little light here in the front that flashes with every pulse, and what that light means, that's kind of like your fence performance. How good is my fence doing? It takes about, I would say, between 3,000 and 4,000 volts to make that light flash. These things peak out around like between 8 and 10,000 volts on average. So as long as that light's flashing, you should have over 3,000 or 4,000 volts. Every brand that we've dealt with, their minimum voltage they say that needs to be on the fence to keep an animal in place is about 3,500 volts roughly to keep them in place. That's the bare minimum. Of course, higher is better. It means you're under less stress on the line. But this light goes out and the unit's clicking. Could be that you got a bad short in the fence, or what you want to do is you want to turn it off, check the fuse on the left, because that is your AC or 12 volt input depending on which version you got. If that fuse blows, that will shut the unit off where it won't come on at all. If the unit's clicking but not flashing light, you can check this fuse. This is your output protection light that feeds that in that board, and this light plugs into that board as well, so it gets its power from that board. That fuse protects that board as well, so if that fuse blows, well, it cuts power to that bulb and cuts power over here, and then that light won't flash. The unit will still click, because all that clicking stuff comes off on the input side over there. So, nothing I don't like about them. It's my personal thing. I don't like the fuse holders that they use. Turn it off real quick. They're good when they're new, but they pop too many times. We got these little push and turn type fuse caps here, so you just kind of push it in, turn it, and the fuse pops right out. But these little ears right here that are on the side of the fuse cap thing here, if the fuse pops too many times, it actually arcs sometimes inside here, and it can actually burn these little tabs off on there. And then the stupid fuse holder won't lock in and hold itself. There are sort of cheap part to replace, but that happens over time. When those fuse mounts go bad where they won't hold anymore, we don't actually use theirs. We use a different one, and there's a threaded cap type that you actually twist in a number of turns. You have to modify the case a little bit, make the hole bigger, but the wires will go on there and everything. It works really good, holds the same size fuse sizes and everything, but that's what we use on there when the fuse holders do go bad. But they are a little bit slower pulse. Like most brands are like 1.2, 1.3 seconds. These are a little slower. This one's not too bad. This one seems to be pretty normal, but there are some models that are a little slower, like 1.5 seconds. And not many brands go less than a second. I think it's like a rule or a law or something, but the safety of electric fence boxes, they can't be faster than a second on their pulse. But so about 1.2 to 1.5 is like average speed for most fence boxes. But sometimes people wish these things were a little faster because they're worried about so the animals kind of get halfway through the fence. By the time they get bit by it, they're already halfway through and they just bolt right on out. So you have to kind of take that in consideration for spacing on the wires. And we have to add another wire in the line to cut out that space where they're sneaking through. So I don't think of anything else about this brand. Now they do carry a 1-year warranty from the factory, which is probably one of the lower warranties out of any brand. They are cheaper in price than say a Gallagher or Speedrite or some other brands, but overall they're fairly reliable. But they do only have a 1-year warranty. So like you buy a Gallagher equivalent, it's going to cost you more than this one, but it's going to be a 3-year warranty on a Gallagher. Versus the Cyclops 1-year warranty. Now you can get extended warranties when you buy one of the Cyclops units. In the paperwork that comes with it, it talks about the extended warranty. And you deal straight with the manufacturer on that. You don't deal with the dealer or the store you bought it from. You deal with the manufacturer. I don't know all the rules for it exactly. I know you have to do it, I think, within 30 days. That you have to decide what you want to do. And I think it's $25 a year for a maximum of 4 years. So $100 will get you 4 more years. And you send them a copy of your receipt, a check for the amount that you want, how many years you want to have, and you have to choose whether you want 1 year, 2, 3, or 4 all at once. You can't pick, oh, I want 1 year now in like 3 weeks. No, I want to do 3 more years. No, you get to pick either some of those years or nothing or all of it, within 30 days. And you send them a check, the serial number of the unit, which is down here at the bottom. Send them all that, a copy of your receipt, and make the check out to them. Send it down there to them, and they put it in some kind of database. And so you got basically a 5-year warranty for an extra $100. So make sure you do that, because I've seen these things, like this one's a 2021 model, and we're in 2024, so it's 3 years old, so it's out of its factory warranty. They didn't buy the extended warranty. Now it's cost them some money to get this fixed. If they'd been a Gallagher, it would have been fixed at no charge. If they bought the extended warranty, it wouldn't have cost them a penny either. So that's the benefit of the warranty, that, you know, of having that longer warranty. They're on a different brand or extended warranty on this. I think the only thing that warranty does not cover, or there's a few things it doesn't cover, but when it comes to manufacturing and of the unit, they don't cover the fuse holders going bad. That's one thing that I don't believe that they cover. They cover the internals like normal, but they don't cover water damage. They don't cover bugs getting inside of it, like ants or something like that, and they don't cover you know, like you drop kicked it across the, you know, a cow mule kicked it or whatever across the pasture. You know, you don't cover stuff like that, but they don't cover water damage, bug damage, or, you know, mishandling, stuff like that. But they'll cover lightning damage or some kind of weird issue with the thing within a 1 year period, or whatever the warranty time that you have on it is. And so that's pretty standard stuff. The one thing about sometimes that happens with these, especially on their larger Joule stuff, all of them are wired like this internally, but sometimes people will always complain to me that the fuse on the left-hand side randomly pops, you know, randomly blows for some stupid reason, and no storms or nothing. It just randomly keeps popping the fuse. And what causes that is the way that all their units are wired is the power cord comes in, it goes to the one side of the cord goes to the fuse, comes out of that fuse, goes to the surge board. The other side of the cord goes to the surge board, and then goes over to the other main board, and then that powers the rest of the unit. But there's a ground wire that goes from that surge board down to the ground terminal, so it's jumpered in there, and so that's for lightning protection. But what can happen is if you don't have enough ground rods on your particular model, and so this one says minimum 2 ground rods, so that's a 6 to 8 foot rod. Particularly, you want to use galvanized rod versus copper. You want to drive them things in as deep as you can. So if it's a 6 to 8 foot rod, drive that thing in 5.5 foot, 7.5 foot, drive it as deep as you can. You want them about 10 foot apart. You can have more than 2. You just don't want to have, less than 2, of course. You want to have as many as 2, 3, 4. Depending if you're really dry or really rocky soil and you have a hard time getting ground rods in, the better a ground system is, the better the whole system's going to run. But if your ground system is not adequate for the system, you'll have actually excess ground voltage on the ground rods. It's really hard to get 0 volts in the ground. There's like a 0.2, 0.3, 0.5 kV, might be on the ground. But if you get more than that, the way that this thing's wired up, that excess ground voltage is going to be sitting on this terminal, which is sitting on that little wire inside that goes back to a surge board. Well, it can sometimes seem to the surge board that there's a spike coming through, like a power surge, and it actually will feed in that little surge board, and then that, of course, ties into the fuse, and it'll pop that fuse prematurely, and if it pops it too many times, of course, that stupid little fuse holder is going to go bad. So the way to get around that, especially if you're not having any storm issues, but that fuse on the left-hand side keeps popping, add more ground rods. Oh, I got 4 ground rods out there. Well, add 3 more. You might need more. Who knows? The bigger the Joule rated the unit is, the more crucial and the more the ground system is, and the more ground rods you need for a unit. You'll look at a Cyclops Master, one of the upper, bigger Joule units, and it'll say like 8 ground rods minimum or 6 ground rods minimum. They're not joking about that. So they're not trying to make you spend money on ground rods. You'll spend about $15 a ground rod, but if you keep popping the fuse and then the thing goes bad for some stupid reason, that downtime's going to cost you more than what those extra ground rods did. So you might as well spend them extra money on some ground rods up front now, and then hopefully save the thing from popping the fuse and let the unit perform better by getting the ground voltage down lower, so it's not feeding into the unit up inside here, and actually get more power to the fence when you need it. So that's a little story about it. And here's place that was written on here is cyclopsfence.com. They are, I think, a distributor / dealer for them. That's where you can buy them at. This belongs to a customer. It doesn't belong to them. This was one that we fixed for a customer. We had to fix the main board and rewire it, and it went right back to working again. But that's what happened to this one. Anyways, thanks for checking our video. If you got any other questions, hit us up down below, or you got a repair of a broken fence charger you'd like to send us. Be happy to take a look at it for you. Here's our information again. And until next time, we'll see you guys later on, and have a good rest of your day.